Hey everybody, welcome back to APM Help Academy. Today we're going to be talking about handling security deposits, a super important thing that we do in property management. And even though it's something that may seem very simple, it is something I see people have trouble with time and again, and it becomes super important when it comes to trust compliance. Okay, so Buildium makes tracking deposits very easy though, and it's super helpful in making sure you are holding the right amount of cash, you're refunding tenants the correct amounts. It's really good at this, and I'm going to go through kind of all the areas we should be looking at when it comes to security deposits. Okay, so I am currently on a tenant's lease ledger, and I want you to keep in mind Buildium did recently release a feature where applicants can now have a ledger. So if you need an applicant to pay a security deposit ahead of time, you can certainly do that and record it in the applicant ledger. And once you move the tenant in, that financial history will transfer over to here, just like this. Okay, I'm not going to touch on that today because the applicant ledger looks just like this. It's the same exact thing. It's just an applicant profile. All right, but we're just going to go through the example because in most scenarios, people have already marked someone as moved in and maybe they haven't paid their security deposit yet. Okay, so you can see here that, I put in the charge for security deposit. In another video, I touched on putting in those charges when you create the lease. But if for some reason you forgot, all you got to do is just enter charge right here. All right. So if I have the security deposit charge in here, a tenant can pay it by electronically on Buildium's EFT system. And Buildium released something pretty cool recently where if they do pay the security deposit now and you have ePay enabled on your security deposit bank account, their security deposit payment will go directly into the security deposit bank account. So you don't have to do any transfers or anything like that. So that's something that's really nice. Okay. If they are not paying by EFT and you're one of those people like myself who really prefers certified funds when it comes to security deposit payments, like a cashier's check or money order, what you would do is once you deposited that in the real world, I want to go ahead and record it in here. So if I received a $200 deposit from a tenant, I'm going to go ahead and click receive payment here. And again, this doesn't apply to anyone who's having their tenants pay deposit by EFT. You don't have to do this. Buildium will record it automatically for you. So if I received it, let's say today, $200, they gave me a cashier's check, put in that cashier's check number, any memo, I could put, deposit payment, something like that. It's going to automatically apply to the largest outstanding balance first, but I'm going to go ahead and X that out. I want this under security deposit liability. I can email the tenant a receipt. I can also print the receipt if I want to, and go ahead and click save payment. Now, that's going to go, if for West Franklin Street, I have a deposit trust account selected under my settings, it's going to show under undeposited funds for security deposit trust. And I would deposit it from here. But if I don't have a deposit trust account selected in my property settings, it would just show on the operating account. Okay. I would go here, click on record deposit, and the tenant's payment is right here that I just recorded right there. West Franklin Street deposit payment, $200. I would select it. And if it did actually go into the operating account, well, then I would go ahead and click save and deposit it there. If in the real world, I put it in the security deposit account, well, I could simply change it up here, select security deposit trust, my date of the deposit, and then click save. But like I said, if you have a deposit trust account selected already in the property settings, I wouldn't deposit it from here. It would actually show under undeposited funds in here. Actually, when I click record deposit, it would be in the queue right here. And in that case, I wouldn't have to change what bank account it's going to because it's already in the queue for that bank account. Okay. So that's kind of how you do there in terms of recording a security deposit that you received other than EFT. Now, holding them in a separate trust account, I do recommend it, even if you're in one of those states that doesn't require it. To me, it keeps you accountable, and also it just makes reporting easier to look at. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So one of the reports I use a lot is the balance sheet. I use this probably more than any other report in the system. And how I got here is I just clicked on reports, and then the balance sheet report is in the financial section. And if I run it for West Franklin Street as of today, the $200 payment I did not deposit yet, it's sitting there in the undeposited funds queue, right? So what I would do, go back here. It's under this undeposited funds queue in the rent trust. I select that payment. Let's say I deposit at the bank in the real world on 9/12. In the security deposit trust account, we click save and check out my balance sheet now. Security deposit liability, the system's telling me I should be holding $200 of security deposits for my property. And it does show I hold $200 of cash for this property in the security deposit trust account. I am tied out for this property, okay? I really like this balance sheet here for those reasons. I use this a lot. It gives a great breakdown of how much money a property has at all times and where it lives. So this is why I'm a big fan of the balance sheet report. And this is another reason why I do like holding it in a separate account, because if I hold the security deposit in the rent trust account and I don't have a separate account, the problem is it just gets lumped together and it can make reporting a little confusing. You know, when you're trying to fill out, okay, how much security deposit cash do I have versus all other types of cash? It can be a little tough breaking that down if I don't have a separate account for it. But there are many states that do require this. So you might be one of those people who has no choice but to have one of these separate accounts. So what we can talk about next is transferring and refunding security deposits, because that's sure a big topic too. It might not always work out perfectly where the deposit goes directly into the security deposit account. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete that entry I just did. Be careful deleting stuff in Buildium, but if you delete a manual payment like this, all it does is it puts the payment back in the queue for undeposited funds. So don't worry about, like, you know, if you're scared about deleting a tenant's payment or something like that. That won't happen if you delete this right here. It's just going to put it back in the queue. So I hit delete. Go back here to the rent trust account. It's going to be back in my queue. Click record deposit, and there's my payment again, back in the queue. So if you didn't have the perfect scenario where your deposit, didn't end up where you wanted it to be, I can simply go ahead, and now if I run my balance sheet again, check it out, the payment now, went in here, so it shows I hold $1,000 for this property, but I need $200 of security deposit at all times. I do have enough cash to cover that, but I want it in the security deposit bank account. So what I would do, and this is a pretty simple functionality that's nice to use, click on record other transaction. This is how you record transfers in Buildium. And you can see it automatically selects the transfer option right here. I could just put the date I'm doing the transfer. So this is for my property, West Franklin Street. I want to move it to the security deposit trust account, and I want to move $200, the tenant's deposit. And in the memo, you can make a little note of, like, the tenant, who it is, Jackson Blake's, deposit, move in, I don't know, 9/1/2025, something like. Just keep in mind the characters are limited when you do record other transactions. The memo has very few characters you can use, so make sure you utilize the space as best as possible with, like, abbreviations and things like that. So keep that in mind. But I'll just do this, something like that. I click save, and it records a transfer from this account to the security deposit account. And going back to what I've reiterated many times, this isn't going to do anything in the real world, right? You actually have to go in your bank and move the money, so that way we can reconcile these transactions. So if I run my balance sheet again, it knows I just transferred cash for this property to the security deposit account. And it works the same way, vice versa. If a tenant moves out, and me being someone who likes to only use the security deposit account to hold the deposits, I'm not a huge fan of doing refunds out of this account or paying vendors out of this account. I personally think it makes things a little more complicated, trying to make sure the perfect amounts are getting paid out of this account versus this account. So whenever a tenant moves out, I like to move the whole deposit back over to the operating account, and I could do everything out of there. Pay the vendor, pay the tenant, pay the owner, whatever you need to do. So for the example that the tenant's moving out, I like to move their whole deposit. So I would just move it right back. Record other transaction. West Franklin Street. We're moving it from security deposit trust to the rent trust. I don't do unit level financials, so I just keep things on a property level. It's not going to affect it either way. That's just a habit. So, which you could, by the way, change that setting. You can change it so that it defaults to property level every time you do a transaction. But yeah, and I could just put something like, Jackson Blake move out. So we indicate that the tenant's moving out, move their whole deposit back, and it will show that the cash is now in here. And what we can touch on here now, this is very important. I want to reiterate something here really quick, that when it comes to tenant deposits, be very careful on recording things in Buildium, because I want to show you something here that I probably should have touched on earlier, but I'm glad I thought of it now, because here's the thing. If I record a tenant's payment right here for $200, I've just credited security deposit liability $200, right? And it shows on my balance sheet. It's coming directly from the tenant's ledger. However, if I go here and I did not select the tenant's payment from this, I simply just went ahead and did, okay, West Franklin Street, security deposit liability, $200. All right, let's just say I did that. I call this a bank ledger transaction, right? That's what it is. You're doing outside the tenant's ledger. Let's just say I did that instead of selecting the tenant's payment from the undeposited funds queue to reconcile it. Watch what happens. The system now thinks I need to hold $400 of security deposit for this owner, but I don't. The tenant's deposit is $200. So what I just did is I doubled the amount of security deposits the system thinks I need to be holding at all times. That's going to affect your owner distributions. So be careful. You definitely, very rare, you want to do a manual bank ledger transaction to account for the tenant's security deposit. Just be very careful of that. That's a big mistake I've seen people make time and time again. And so try to avoid that. Use the balance sheet to help you, okay? The other report that I want you to use to help yourself is the rent roll, because that's going to tell me truly what the deposit is. So if I really wanted to double check, I could always just run the rent roll report, which gives me a list of all my tenants, what their deposit is on their ledger, and how much they owe for money and things like that. So check this out. If I go ahead and run this, well, it's telling me here my deposit for the tenant is $200. You can check expired leases too. Maybe it's coming from there, but I don't have any expired leases on this property. So clearly I should only be holding $200, yet I have $400 here. And this is what the system used to calculate distributions, technically speaking, not the rent roll. So yeah, avoid that mistake at all costs. I've seen people duplicate those. I call it a duplicate. It happens quite a bit. So definitely avoid that. So going back to when we are moving out a tenant and refunding them their deposit. Let's just say, for example, this tenant is now moving out and I want to refund them their deposit. If they have no damages and whatever else, it's pretty straightforward. What we can do is just click on the three dots here, issue refund. Now, Buildium released another cool feature recently where you can now refund tenants by electronically, EFT. They just have to put their bank info in the portal. So that is now an option, and it used to not be. All right. So we're going to put the date of the refund, the bank account we're refunding from. I'm going to use Rent Trust since I moved the whole deposit over there. $200, let's say. If there's a check number, go ahead and do it. But of course, that's not going to apply with EFT. If you're using Buildium for check printing, you're going to want to queue it. And we're going to put the memo. You could put like security deposit refund, something like that. Typically you're not going to refund to the tenant's current unit address. That's pretty rare. You're probably going to need some kind of address they gave you, like a forwarding address or the tenant address you have in their profile. You can also do custom, do it from scratch. Any attachments, and click save refund. Okay, gotta get out of that example. Click save refund. Issue refund. And now again, and since I did a check, it's going to record it in the Buildium world. You'd actually have to print out a check, send it to them via Zelle if need be. I'm not a huge fan of that, but if you have to, you have to. Definitely avoid third-party apps like Venmo or Cash App, like that don't do those kind of things. I think Zelle's the only really kind of Cash App that I would think that's okay, but still, I would try to do a check to them for the most part, or use the electronic tool. So if you're wondering where the refund is, though, if you're like, well, I don't see the refund, I just refunded the tenant, it shows under the deposits and prepayments tab. This shows what our balance is for deposits under a tenant. It will tell you what their balance is at all times. So it was once $200. We have now refunded them. It's right here. And I've queued it for printing, so I could use print from my office out of Buildium, or I could use Buildium's remote check printing service, whatever you want to do. Now, for the situation where you have to withhold some of the security deposit, it is very important, again, that this is all handled from the tenant's ledger. So what we want to do, let's just say I want to charge them for damages that they made, okay? So we're going to click Enter Charge. And typically the date of the charge is maybe like the date you got the invoice from the vendor or something like that. So let's just say we're charging the tenant $150. And, in the memo, you're going to put, carpet cleaning, something like that, plus painting, something like that, whatever fits the description of what you're charging them for at their move out. And your type of GL account, this is going to be income. It is expected by the IRS that you report this type of stuff as income, for gross income for the owner for the year. So don't get confused by the fact that this is income, because the payment to the vendor is your expense. So those are typically going to be a wash. The expense to the vendor is the write-off. The reimbursement from the tenant is income. Okay, so we're going to do, for this situation, cleaning and maintenance income would apply perfectly. Some people will use repairs income if it's, let's just say like a hole in the wall, had to like fix the sink or something like that. But I feel like cleaning and maintenance does the job typically. We're going to go ahead and click Save Charge. It's going to show that they owe money now, $150. Here, let's just delete this to make this example easier. Okay. And what I want to do is, like, if I want to withhold some of the security deposit from the tenant, I click the three dots again here, withhold deposit. The date of when you're withholding deposit, this is typically going to match the charge date for the most part. I feel like you might use a little bit of a different date, but it's going to ask you to choose a deposit account. Security deposit liability is going to be your type of deposit account you're going to use most of the time. You might have a pet deposit. This also applies for last month's rent. So if you want to withhold someone's last month's rent for the rent income on the last month, you would do it right from here. It's a withhold deposit. Same concept, except you wouldn't have to add in an extra charge. The rent charge should already be there. But anyways, that's a side topic. And the memo is going to automatically say deposit applied to balances. You could do that. I guess you could keep it. I like to change the wording a little bit. That's just me. You could do what you like. And then I'm going to withhold it, $150 from the tenant's deposit. This is going to deduct their deposit balance down to $50. So I click withhold deposit. It shows now that charge was paid by the tenant's deposit. So there it is. Go to deposit prepayments, and it shows they only have $50 left of their security deposit. And if I go to refund that, it's going to show the same thing. They only have $50 left of a security deposit, and you could do it as normal. So that's a little breakdown of that. And if I go to the balance sheet right now, just without refunding their deposit, let's just say I withheld it and that's it so far, it's going to say there's only $50 left of a security deposit on this property. So that's pretty cool. It should match everything. Yeah. So I personally love Buildium for deposit handling. It's just really good, just giving you the breakdown of everything. Majority of the time, 98% of the time, you're going to handle deposit situations within a tenant's ledger. There are the rare one-off situations you might do deposit record entries like in the bank ledger, but those are typically situations if you're offboarding an owner or something like that. But yeah, that's kind of a more side topic, but this is something you're going to be doing very, very often. So everything I talked about today is something you're going to do on a weekly basis typically. So very important, this stuff right here. Another report I forgot to mention too that you can use for security deposits, the Buildium did come out with a new report called Security Deposit and Liabilities. it's just a breakdown of the security deposit activity. This was a big request at one point by a lot of Buildium customers, and Buildium did come through, which they often do with requests. They do a good job releasing monthly features, new monthly features, and this was one of them. So let me see here. For this one, I think, trying to see if I can give a good example here, because I'm just messing around with the filters here. Let me just do all rentals, and maybe I'll pop. Yeah, here we go. Because I think what happened here. Oh yeah, because I think that lease I had was, it's some kind of like a filter I'm not selecting. That's why it's not populating. But what's cool is it actually like gives you a timeline of how much was received, you know, and you know, with leases that have 120 days or less, right? And it tells you how much was received, how much was withheld from their security deposit. So this is a good report too, to kind of show you the activity of security deposit stuff, and how much was refunded to the tenant, what their current balance is. So yeah, this is a great report too. Again, it's new. It was definitely a hot request, and they came through, and very helpful. So just to break down again for security deposit stuff: balance sheets, rent roll, security deposit and liabilities. These are all great reports to utilize to get your security deposits right. And don't forget to use APM's daily audits report. It's in the integrations part of Buildium in the marketplace, daily audits by APM. We help you identify where the discrepancies are. So if you are one of those people who has a separate security deposit account, we can tell you if your liabilities don't match the cash in the bank account for a property. Pretty cool software that we released, so definitely check that out. All right. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much everything on the security deposit stuff that I think will be very helpful for you when getting started. When getting started in here, as I mentioned before, don't be one of those people that makes that mistake of duplicating your security deposits. It's a very common thing that I've seen with clients I've worked with in the past. So, but yeah, definitely appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check us out at apmhelp.com. Reach out, info@apmhelp.com if you have any questions or just have any inquiries in general. But stay tuned for more videos, guys. All right. Thank you.